I just felt like making this voice memo because I thought of something and then I'm like, you know what? This is the quintessential example of what like an NPC is. Like the best way to describe an NPC. It's like this is what it is. Because a lot of ways you describe an NPC, it's like people are like, okay, yeah, I could totally see how that makes someone an NPC. And it's a very easy behavior to get over. But like a lot of them are things that like the majority of people do, and they will even fight for it. They'll even argue like, no, 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 I do this for a reason. And my thought was like, I never understood why whenever some big politician, someone running for office, president, something like that, why like whenever they're driving through a city on some roads, everyone always like goes outside and like watches the cars drive by. It's like what the hell are they to you? They're your leaders, they're not my leaders. Like, if they were my leaders, they'd come inside my house and talk to me and know my name and know my face. Or they invite me to their house. Stuff like that, like that. And if they're like, oh, but they can't do that to everyone, then they're not fit to rule everyone. It's just that simple. So it's like you come to a better conclusion about how the world works or how it should work by just thinking. And maybe it takes like 1 or 2 or 3 steps, but you'll never get to the third step if you don't bother to question the first step. It's like if you're playing chess, right? Oftentimes when you find a good move, you should wait a little bit and try to find a better move. And sometimes you should consider a bad move first, just to see the possibilities of what might happen afterwards. You should consider a sacrifice and go, okay, I might lose a little bit now, but what about my position in the next 3, 4, 5 moves? What'll happen then? And you should consider the possibilities. But it blows my mind that people don't like, the less they question, the worse they get at thinking. So why the hell would you not bother to question everything? Like, why would you not make that like a part of your lifestyle to question everything? To make sure you never fall down that slippery slope of just getting worse at questioning, getting worse at going down the steps and having the creativity to make connections and go deeper and deeper and deeper. Why would you ever allow yourself to get worse at it? Because like hella people do that. And then they'll defend it. They'll find reasons and they'll go like, oh no, but you know, this reason. And it's like, maybe it takes like 2 or 3 steps to understand why that's a stupid thing to do. But in the process of understanding that it's a stupid thing to do, you come to way better conclusions, and you have a far more like robust and connected worldview that you can actually like confidently make decisions about, and go through the world like okay, I'm not being some hypocrite. I'm not like, you know, holding the pleasure of opinions without going through the struggle or the pain or the discomfort of thinking them through first. You know, it's just NPC behavior. It's just, oh, let me coast through life, take the path of least resistance. And it's like in all these mundane things. I was just talking with my brother's friends earlier, 2 days ago, and it was like, bro, man, this is like something I would script, dude. This is like something I would write in a script. But it was like, they were like, oh, who are you gonna vote for in the next election? I'm like, oh, I don't vote. I'm not gonna vote. And they're like, oh, but if you had to vote, who would you vote for? And I'm like, Trump. And then he's like, oh yeah, understandable, you know. He's a guy who already labeled me as a Republican. And I'm like, okay, if people put me on that label, I never put myself in that label. He was like, oh, what are some of your views? I'm like, oh, this, then this, and this. And he's like, oh yeah, then you're a Republican. Like, instead of actually contending with the fact that I'm an individual and I have my own complex thoughts and ideas, he instead just put the label over me and went, okay, you, just to know all of your beliefs and all of your views, I'm just going to put this label over you and remember it. So that way I can guess your every motive and understand every little move behind you, even though it might be misattribution, which it literally is because it's creating a simplified version of what a human can be and then applying that to half the population. But then it happened again with like the person who was behind me. They were like talking and they're like, they weren't hearing me, and it was me and Sami that were talking. Sami was the one who labeled me as that. And then Rayhan behind me was like, wait, what, who are you going to vote for? I'm like, oh, I'm not voting for anyone. And he's like, oh, you're one of those people. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, why would I bother to vote? And he's like, dude, it's a American privilege. Like, you're an American, you're supposed to vote. And it's like, people, this is why, like, all the labels exist. People apply them to others because they reinforce them themselves. It's like people will go like, oh, I'm an American, so what does that mean I do? Rather than, forget my labels, bro. What do I want to do? What do I feel needs to be done? And then people expect the labels to work on other people. So it's just projection. It's just projection of having a simplified, like, being submissive to your labels. Literally, that's what it is. That's like the best way to describe an NPC. It's just being submissive to your labels. That's why there's so much like racism and sexism and all the isms, because there's one side of the story which is like, okay, people on racist people, bigoted, prejudiced people find like small patterns that emerge in populations, and then they make huge exaggerated deals out of them. And then it's like, okay, that is one side of the story. They do that, and that can be hurtful. But the other side of the story is like, but when that label is applied to them, they do it more. Like the normies, at least, the NPCs. You know, there's a 1 in 5 to 1 in 20 of every population, depending on what population you're looking at, of people that are like real and that will not, for the most part, they'll at least be aware of their proclivities to fall into line and submit to the labels that give them a cheap, easy identity that they don't have to work for themselves. But it's like, bro, there were hella, when I was part of the car community, there were hella black people that always had Hellcats. But they also had Mustangs, they also had Camaros, they also had not just Hellcats, but like a lower tier Hemi, RT, that kind of stuff. And it was a pretty like diverse set, actually. But those were all car guys. Those were all like people that were with the shit. Like, they were all real. They all liked cars, not because it was popular, but because they liked cars. Even when people criticize all the takeover meets and things like that. So, I mean, and they had all, I know so many black people with 240s and with supercars and with like old, like really old tuner, like Prince model Skylines and things like that. Hella black people with like M5, V10 M5s, like things like that. And after it became a meme, it happened more. It's like black NPCs, not black people, black NPCs, because it's, I mean, apply whatever labels you want to it. You could say, oh, they're people or they're not people or whatever. But black people who have no identity that they can form on their own because they can't dig past the first layer of discomfort of their lives to actually like imagine themselves in some situation where they might need to make a decision or have some adversity or anything. People with no imagination, basically. People with no imagination, no creativity, no ability to think deeply. It just gets worse and worse and worse for them because they never want to think deeply. So the skill becomes lost over time, and eventually it becomes too late for some people. And it's like, both sides of normies, of NPCs, of people that just go along with what they're told, have an argument, a reasonable and understandable and sympathetic argument as to why the other side is evil. Unless they are actually like real, unless they don't fake laugh at things and they actually real laugh, unless they don't try to hide their laughs, unless they actually like humble themselves a little bit, stop being so prideful, stop caring about what people think of them, and actually be authentic, unless they create art for themselves rather than other people. Because that's the only way they will be able to have the humility to go like, okay, if this stereotype exists and if I'm hurt by it, then that means that there's an element of truth to it. Because jokes don't, insults and all that stuff, they don't hurt you unless there's an element of truth. Someone could call me a 2x4 wooden plank. Like, what the hell are you talking about? That makes no sense. Someone could call me a oak tree. What does that mean? You know? I'm looking outside right now, that's why I'm... But if someone calls me like Mr. Crocker or like the cinnamon stick from Apple Jacks or some like skinny, odd looking, almost uncanny looking dude, like body shape wise, I'd be like, okay, that's kind of funny, but it's also a little insulting and a little hurtful, you know? But if you understand that you have flaws, and instead of trying to go like, oh, I want to pretend to be like I have no problems and all this stuff, which is like, that is the slave mindset. That is the mindset that keeps you down. The psyop has always only ever been one thing, and it's make people feel satisfied with their terrible situation in life, so that way they never fix their terrible situation to then feel satisfied. Convince them, oh, it's just a chemical imbalance, there's nothing you can do about it. Oh, this health problem is just, that's just how it is, you just have allergies, it's not the vaccines. Oh, it's you totally need to get your wisdom teeth removed. It's not that eating unprocessed foods will allow your jaw to be strengthened and you won't need a couple $1,000 surgery, you know? All these different things. Oh, you need these doctors to inject you with these things that kill the hormonal production of your children during literally during childbirth, because we want to like create this idea that giving birth is actually very hard, because people never looked into it themselves. NPCs are just like, oh yeah, doctors, they clearly know what they're doing. Bro, people in other countries, their parents just help them give birth because it's that easy. But people over here are like, oh my God, 12 hours of labor. Yeah, the doctors are creating a problem to then fix it. And nobody's like actually opening their eyes and going like, hey, maybe we should like think about this a little more. Or maybe like, because one person can't be an expert on all these different things. Maybe we should all become experts on the things that affect our lives personally, rather than like just relying on experts who don't actually love us, you know? I'm going off on a tangent, but that is the ultimate psyop. It is the ultimate slave mentality. And that pride, that desire to have your reputation be something that it's actually not to yourself, that desire to be inauthentic, to lie to other people to convince yourself somehow, because you consider yourself stupid enough to be fooled into thinking, oh, I'm so cool just because other people say so. You have no free will. You have no free will, and it's pathetic. And there's always the opportunity right now to hear this and go like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna change things. I'm gonna actually be authentic, because that is like the solution to every problem that exists. And being authentic doesn't just mean doing the things that you believe in. It also means choosing to actively not do the things that you don't believe in. And why the hell would anyone believe that it's somehow valuable to anyone to just pander to some politician who is like, oh, this is a very dangerous city, make sure we bulletproof the car and all this stuff. Why the hell would you pander to them? They don't trust you. They're not living there, they're just driving through. How the hell did I tie this back? That's crazy. It's a lot of thoughts running through my head, because I have a million different ideas on this sort of philosophy, NPC philosophy. But maybe I should make a video, like maybe I should make a bunch of bullet points and then connect them all together in Obsidian or something like that. But I don't know. This was just a set of thoughts that I had. Like it's not a set of thoughts. It was, I was thinking about like how stupid that was, because all this election stuff is happening, and how like everyone around me was like, oh, stand here, you get to see the president. I'm like, I don't care, dude. He doesn't know me, I don't know him. We're not friends. We don't play games together. Why the hell would I want to see him? He doesn't want to see me. It's just pretend. He's pretending to want to see you, and you're pretending to want to see him. So how about we all just stop pretending, and we stop wasting like hundreds of millions of dollars of state funds just to put on this stupid show as if everything's okay, as if this is a system we should keep upholding. What a stupid... But it's crazy because so many people do it. Like, that was my thought. That's the reason why I wanted to make this video. Like, there's many NPC traits out there that seem totally harmless. And yeah, they are. But if you can't notice them and spot the things that are harmless, harmless is only... Bad things happen with acceleration, not with speed. You don't notice speed, you notice acceleration. So it's like, if you don't notice the little things, more and more little things will eventually encroach on you and pile up, and you won't notice the difference. You won't notice that you've been moved halfway across the world. If someone just tells you, oh, just scoot over a little bit, one at a time, for your entire life, you won't notice the difference. You need to notice the little things. You need to acknowledge the fact that if someone is able to insult you in a way that hurts you, in a generalized way about your group, oh, this people or this race or this religion or this nationality, whatever, if they're able to do that and it offends you, that should tell you, wait, that's a problem of your group. Because that means that you guys have been slacking and been complacent on the depth of your characters and identities as individuals, and you've become systematized just to give people an easy way out. And that's not satisfying for people. And people know that deep down. And ultimately it leads to like violent revolution. But yeah, people need that character. They need that guidance from themselves. They need like self-love and self-reliance. And when a group starts to become complacent and go, oh no, we can just follow the formula for it, and fall into these stereotypes, then yeah, that's when things start to go downhill. So at anything you might ever be offended at, that's a you problem. You should be laughing. You should be laughing at it. Because that's how you know you're actually above the problem. And if you're not, if you don't laugh, then you're not above the problem. It's just common sense. It's just basic logic. So I encourage people to just like think about things. Like, don't just do things just because people say them. Don't just do things because it's just normal. It's just what people do. Voting is just it's just what Americans do. Why? Question that. And then question the next question, and then question the next question. And then maybe you might have a satisfying answer. And then I want to say something cynical and something possibly even like dark. You know, there's an evil like pride in me that has this idea of like, if you're not going to think, then at least trust the people that do think. You know, at least stop going like, oh, Afraz, you don't know these things, you're just a conspiracy theorist. Maybe. I'm not going to deny that. I could be completely wrong about everything. But at least I'm open-minded enough to admit that. At least my word can be trusted more than yours, who doesn't question anything that you're told. So, those are the thoughts running through my head. I'm human too, you know. I got my own, like, damn, I wish people would just, like, my own frustration, my own anger, my own, like, I'm offended they wouldn't listen to me, you know? But, I mean, how could I make them listen to me? I make them uncomfortable. I make them confront the fact that they don't really have their own individual, like, fully fleshed out personalities. They don't have their own character tree. They're not telling their own story. They're not a main character in their own lives. And it's like you're in a valley at some extremely high altitude, and it's really hard to breathe. And you want to get down to the next valley over, which is like really low, and it's much better air, much easier to breathe. But in order to get there, you have to climb a mountain. And it's like I push them a little bit to climb the mountain. The way that I talk, the way that I'm like brutal with it is, that's what the brutality of the way I speak is to push people like, hey, get to a better place in your mindset, in your thinking, in your life. And people turn me away for it, and they go, no, this is satisfying to me. And that is the defining trait of an NPC. The one that goes, you know what, I'm satisfied here. And you know what, some people are satisfied there. Some people are satisfied with mediocrity and inadequacy. Some people are satisfied with the fact that, you know, they only get one life and they're not going to live it to the fullest. Some people are satisfied with the fact that they have dreams when they're little of going around and traveling these places and building these connections and building these relationships and learning these languages and meeting cool people and seeing cool things and playing cool games and viewing cool sights, eating cool foods, you know, meeting interesting people and staying at interesting, like, resorts and all this stuff and learning all these new ideas about different cultures, about the world and all this stuff, or getting into their hobbies, or you know, designing a car, or creating an operating system, or like creating a fashion brand, or going to space, or like changing the music industry. Like, so many dreams out there, and people are so prideful that instead of saying out loud to the whole world, I don't believe I'm capable of making this happen, they just go, oh no, I'm satisfied. And they lie to themselves and they convince themselves that they're satisfied with where they are in life. They're satisfied playing this game where they're losing. They're playing this game, this poker game, and they, okay, you know what, I'm going to fold. But you only get one life. You only get one hand. Why would you fold? Why would anyone ever fold? You only get one hand and then you're done. And you can never play again. Why would you do anything but go all in? You don't get to take anything with you. In the afterlife, whether or not an afterlife exists is literally irrelevant. You don't get to take your clothes with you. You don't get to take your money with you. You don't get to take your family with you, your girl with you. Nothing. There's only your soul and the decisions you made and your desire to be the light in a world full of darkness. Or there is nothing for people that don't believe in an afterlife. So why the hell would you do anything other than enjoy life to the fullest? Do the best you can. Go all out. Why the hell would you ever... People are scared, that's why. And people are scared to climb that mountain. They don't think they can make it. And it's like, this is what people mean. Like, when genuine people say, ask for help, this is what they mean. Like, a lot of people just say, oh, it's okay to ask for help, but they don't know what the hell they're talking about. They just say that because it's a popular thing to say. But when real people say ask for help, it's like, be honest, be authentic, be humble. Yeah, it might hurt, but be strong and believe in yourself. If everyone can do it, all these people can do it, you can do it too. You have the resources, you have the abilities, you have the strength, you have the internet, you have food at your disposal, you have clean sources of water. Of course, not everyone has these things, but man, you're listening to this right now. Like, you can do great things. Seriously. And people are like, my motivation for all this is like, why else would I do anything else? Like, what reason is there to not wish the best for the world? If you truly believe it can be done, I truly believe everyone can win. I truly believe it. There's no way for me to prove that, but like, everyone can be real. Everyone can be a creator. There doesn't need to be all these boundaries and these labels and these separations. Oh, you're a customer or a consumer versus you're the employee or the owner or the worker. It's like everyone can be the owner and the worker and the consumer all at the same time. Like, why on like a really, really deep level, why separate out like, oh, you're my cousin versus you're my sister versus you're my friend? It's like, dude, they're all my sisters spiritually speaking, right? We're all humans. We want to look out for each other. I mean, maybe some people don't want to look out for each other because in their minds, like subconsciously, they're like, oh, it's not enough resources for everyone. Not everyone can win. And maybe in female society, that might actually be true. But with the real ones, with the boys, dude, everyone can win. Everyone can win. And it all just depends on people people just stop doing things that they don't actually think about. Like, just don't do things unless you're capable of questioning why you're doing it, unless you're being introspective about doing it. But again, that's another dark idea from my mind. It's like, oh, the whole world needs to fix their problems. You guys should stop doing it. I don't know. Personal diary for myself. Of like that's basically what this is. But like, I don't know. It's giving me stuff to think about. So, because I want to improve my life as well, and I want to be a beacon of like authenticity, and as a result, like positivity, and joy and fulfillment and meaning, for other people. I feel that like deep sense of responsibility, and I think I could do it. Hey, but if anybody out there wants to help me, it's going to be a tough job. You want to help me, I don't know. If you're real as fuck and you feel a higher calling to like do something great for the world and like you still have that childish mindset that like the world can be saved, hit me up, bro. Okay, bye guys.